Welcome into Minnesota Vikings Now. Today's video is a look at some of the top free agent targets I think the Vikings should go explore. But I want to hear from you guys since we are a show for the people after all. So get in the comments section and let me know at least one player you would like the Vikings to sign right now. Tom Downey of Chat Sports here with my Vikings free agent targets video. Now, Minnesota, I thought had a pretty good draft class, and as things sit currently, knowing these roster moves do tend to happen fairly frequently, the Vikings, by my sometimes iffy math, are at 90 players right now. So they would have to cut somebody, probably some dude that no one's ever really heard of, to make room for a new free agent. But with $12.2 million in salary cap space, they can easily sign almost any of the big names out there if they so choose. My number one target for Minnesota is JC Tretter. Now, allegedly, he's got some injury issues. He wasn't practicing that much for the Cleveland Browns last year, was banged up. The body is beginning to fail him. But despite that, he played really well last year when he was out there. It is fine to think that the decline might be beginning to set in for JC Tretter. And I think there might be some around the NFL who maybe don't want to bring in the NFL player union president into their organization and locker room. But if you want a good starting center, JC Tretter can absolutely be that guy for you. And the Vikings, of course, did not pick up the fifth-year option on Garrett Bradbury. That's not a huge surprise because, well, even though I liked him a lot coming out of NC State, he has not been a significantly high impact player in the end. You could have this situation of maybe you try to allow Tretter to be the mentee for Bradbury. Maybe he's the guy, maybe he's not, but I don't want to assume Bradbury's your long-term piece. Tretter, if you're trying to win games right now and does absolutely fit the scheme that you're trying to run on offense, he'd be a pretty good pickup there for the Minnesota Vikings if they're able to add him, and assuming the medical stuff does indeed check out from that standpoint. Let's go to Akiem Hicks here. Next up, he is an aging player, but he does fit the defense still. Now, he's not what he was in his prime with Chicago, who was a fairly valuable three-down player. I am looking for an early two-down player, someone to help out at the probably more five technique, which is what Akiem Hicks played most frequently with the Chicago Bears. I don't hate James Lynch. I'm excited to see what some of the youngsters can do, Twyman, Watts, etc., the draft picks as well. But I wouldn't mind a veteran player who I do think would fit really well in the Ed Donatel scheme because it's fairly similar to what he's done in the past. Do you think the Vikings will end up signing another player? 1 for yes, they will. 0 for no, they will not. This question is going to be the pinned comment on today's video. So if the ad break comes here on YouTube, take advantage of it. While the ad plays, head down there, type in 1 for yes or 0 for no. Receivers, led by Jarvis Landry, next up here. I believe with Kevin O'Connell at the helm, we will see a lot more 11 personnel, meaning there's going to be 1 receiver, 1 tight end, one running back, 1 tight end, and 3 receivers out there on the field. My bad. Adam Thielen, Justin Jefferson, of course, are going to be your big-time guys there at receiver 1, receiver 2, or 2 versus 1, whichever order you want to put them in. And I thought KJ Osborne did play pretty well last year in a smaller-ish role than most receiver 3s. They drafted Jalen Naylor. They drafted Ihmir Smith-Marsette last year. BC Johnson's on the roster. I don't love those guys. And if Osborne's your 4, along with Johnson and one of Ihmir Smith-Marsette or Naylor, or some combination of those 3, I think we feel better about it. Landry would be your slot receiver. Plug and play. He wanted $20 million. He ain't going to get that figure in the NFL. That's an obscene amount of money. Maybe 1 year 5 could make some sense. Some other receiver options, given the route-running prowess of Justin Jefferson, he can also slot into the slot receiver role, so you can look inside, outside guys. Most of these guys are veterans who are a bit banged up. T.Y. Hilton, Emmanuel Sanders, Cole Beasley. Wouldn't Odell Beckham Jr. be a lot of fun as well? There's also Will Fuller, who is a speedy vertical threat, but as producer Jeremy likes to say, has hamstrings made of cotton candy. He simply cannot stay healthy. We are this close to 4,000 subscribers here on Minnesota Vikings Now. Help us get there. We need 189 of you, and I can guarantee that at least 200 of you are watching the show right now and are not subscribed. So if you want more free Vikings videos here on YouTube, hit that big red button and subscribe. We've reached the Vikings legend portion of today's show. Kyle Rudolph is still a free agent. Not a huge surprise. Injuries have begun to add up for the former number 1 tight end in Minnesota. And I know the Vikings added Johnny Munt, and they're not going to utilize, I don't think, nearly as many 2 tight end potential packages as they did in the past. They're not going to run the ball quite as heavily in terms of an efficiency standpoint. But Irv Smith's coming off injury. You got late-round picks and Zach Davidson and Nick Muse. Maybe a veteran tight end like Rudolph, who of course knows the city and fan base oh so well, could actually make sense as a very cheap 1-year option. I would kind of prefer Rudolph over Ben Ellefson on this roster. Now, maybe the injuries have become too much. That I certainly understand. You can sign Rudolph to a 1-day deal and allow him to retire as a Viking if you want to go with that technicality. As you look at the Vikings roster, what is the biggest need left for them at this stage? Is it a position like tight end? Is it maybe more center, defensive line? Maybe a spot we haven't gotten to quite yet. Sound off for me in the comment section right now. Another one of the former Vikings players, Riley Reiff, who played for Minnesota from 2017 to 2020, went to the Bengals past a couple years. The late 2020, I should say. He could be an option at swing tackle. I don't think he's a starting caliber player anymore, but outside of Christian Darrisaw, who I like at left tackle, and of course Brian O'Neill, who has been awesome at right tackle, Blake Brindell's the swing. I don't feel comfortable with that unless your plan is to make Ed Ingram your starting left guard and now Ezra Cleveland's your swing, which I don't love that much. Give me a veteran in there, just in case there's an injury along at one of your 2 starting tackle spots. So if you're picking one of these guys to bring back, who would it be? Type in KR for Kyle Rudolph or type in RR for Riley Reiff. Truly no wrong answer, but I want to hear from you guys right now in the comments. Bryce Callahan is next up here. This is someone who I thought the team might pursue. They ended up picking Chandon Sullivan at nickel. That's fine. Why not have both? Callahan knows the scheme well, having played under Ed Donatel together in Denver. And in two years, 21 games total, he picked off 2 passes, had 9 pass breakups, is a decent tackler as well. I think Callahan is a starting caliber nickel that I'm a bit surprised to see is available on the open market at this stage. He is not an elite player, of course not, but he is still a quality one. And if you can add him to a secondary to go along with Chandon Sullivan, I would have some semblance of interest in adding that type of player to my organization. Sullivan's going to be, I think, your guy since you already signed him, but I like to have 2 good nickels, and honestly, I think he's better than Chris Boyd and Harrison Hand, and maybe you just dump those guys altogether. One last name on our list, Nick Foles. Big you-know-what, Nick. Cut by the Bears on Monday. I go through this Vikings quarterback room, and I go, okay, Kirk Cousins your guy. Maybe keep trying to develop Kellen Mond. Sean Mannion's not that good. Sorry, Sean, if you're watching. I don't think Nick Foles is that great of a quarterback either, and the NFL agreed with me. That's why nobody traded for him at like a $3 million salary. Nobody wanted him at that cost because he's not the guy that has had, honestly, just 2 of the greatest individual runs in NFL history. That, 23-2 touchdown interception season, whatever the exact number was. I don't remember which year it was. And then the Super Bowl run as well. Outside of those 2 stretches, Foles has not been very good, but he can be a good backup QB from that standpoint. So I would have interest in going out and adding Nick Foles to be the backup QB if you want to go that route there in terms of adding a high-end impact backup. Not going to be someone you ever want to have out there playing on the field, but I think that could be someone who makes sense to add as a backup piece.